Well, live from John Hammond Street here in Kanda, this is News 360 coming to you from our studios here at Desawe in Kanda. I am Alfred Okansi.
Mine is Aisha Yakubu. Coming up in the bulletin this evening.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil, Deluxy Acrylic Paint,
and Napa Foods, My Life Insurance.
Parliament denies reports some MPs and other parliamentary staff have contracted COVID-19.
And the inter-party resistance against the new voters register, that's APRAN, says it will not be part of Wednesday's planned IPAC meeting by the Electoral Commission.
Also coming up, landlord who shot his tenant at Ofanko remanded into police custody by Abeka District Court.
Also tonight, government pays first tranche of COVID-19 electricity reliefs to ECG, NEDCO and the VRA.
In sports this evening, Kotokoto announced new board tomorrow as club seeks to chart a new management path.
Well, I have an interactive. Feel free to share your thoughts. Was live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com.
Ghana's COVID-19 case count has risen to 6,964 cases, with 2,097 persons recovering from the disease. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumar Boaji, disclosed this at a news conference in Accra.
A total of 156 new cases have been recorded in Ghana, and this shows the new trend of showing much fewer cases. The cases were identified in 5 out of the 16 regions. Greater Accra contributing about 72 new cases, Western region 57, Central region 13 cases, Volta region reported an increase in 10, and Ashanti recording probably the lowest figure ever of 4 new cases in a day.
On the Kuwait returnees, Dr. Patrick Kumar Boaji indicated that samples have been taken awaiting results.
About 230 of them had their samples taken. They are currently in the lab. Once we get the results, those who are positive will be moved to the treatment or isolation center, depending on what their situation is, and we watch them, and then within the 14 days, samples will be taken as part of our contribution to the exercise.
The World Health Organization announced it has suspended testing the malaria drug hydroxychloroquine in COVID-19 patients due to safety concerns. When asked what the position of Ghana was, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service noted they are yet to receive a formal letter from the WHO, adding the case management team is meeting to decide the way forward.
As I speak now, of course, we wait for the formal communication, but the case management team now are meeting to take a decision on what to do. We only use it for critical cases. We don't use it for routine cases. Those who are being managed at home do not take hydroxychloroquine.
Well, government says it is yet to decide on whether Ghanaians abroad will be brought back home whilst the airports remain closed to passenger travel due to COVID-19. At a news conference here in Accra, Deputy Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Minister Charles Oredo explained if it must be done, it will be done in phases.
We don't have like a decision to bring in all Ghanaians, but this category, that's the Kuwaitis, they are the ones that a decision was made, to bring them in.
The Deputy Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Minister insisted any attempt to bring in Ghanaians stranded abroad at the same time will be chaotic.
We have a very fluid situation, so that if, say, yesterday you had 1, by the end of today you go back, then the number would have increased to 2. Because some didn't hear the information early. Some were also told later. So as and when they hear of this information that, oh, okay, the Ghanaian embassy or the Ghanaian High Commission is collating the data of, Ghanaians who would want to go back home, then they rush, to have their names recorded. So as of now, I can't give you the exact number, but probably we can cross-check and later, get you the number.
230 Ghanaians were on Saturday welcomed to Ghana from Kuwait after a mutual agreement between the Kuwaiti and Ghana government. Charles Oredu says that was the first cohort allowed by cabinet to come home.
They've been grouped into cohorts. Now we have a group, say the first group. These are the Kuwaitis, like Ghanaians living in Kuwait. Then as I told you, also had a second group of Ghanaians who traveled there on behalf of, say, government, to do government business. People who are working with ministries, government agencies, and whatnot. Then we also have the third group, people who went on their own, and they find themselves in such situation because we've closed the border. So this group that we call like the first cohort, they are the ones that the decision was taken by cabinet, to allow them to come in.
He said some Ghanaians who have expressed interest in coming home reside in countries like Yemen, Afghanistan, United Kingdom, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Niger.
Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedu Sarkodie, has disclosed 91% of people infected by the coronavirus in Ghana do not develop signs and symptoms at all. Dr. Bedu Sarkodie noted this calls for strict adherence to all safety protocols introduced to reduce the spread of the pandemic.
Dr. Bedu Sarkodie was addressing the press at the Information Ministry's bi-weekly briefing on Tuesday. The claim that majority of the persons infected by the virus do not show any signs at all means that many Ghanaians are asymptomatic to the disease.
This may be the reason why the travelers, when we are using the thermometer gun and other means of temperature checking, you don't pick them because here, most of them, you don't wait till severe disease to pick them. But then the symptom fever that the temperature gun monitors. Mostly the rate is low here in Ghana.
He noted that most of the infected persons have shown signs of cough, headache, and fever much more than the other symptoms. On progression, severity, and outcome, Dr. Bedu Sarkodie disclosed that mild cases typically recover within 2 weeks, while those with severe or critical conditions may take 3 to 6 weeks. Children, on the other hand, form a small proportion of the reported cases, with under 10 years being 1% and 10 to 19 years being 4%. Children are also likely to have milder symptoms.
Children are likely to have milder signs and symptoms and lower chance of severe disease than adults. The risk of death is about 0.5% among people that are young, and here in Ghana, it seems to be even the entire or the total fatality rate for us as a country.
He enumerated instances that one can easily contract the disease.
Areas that can be common source of transmission like door handles, door knobs, surfaces like here, mobile phone, if you share mobile phone, in the offices, if you share pens, somebody infected, if you share the pen of such individual, the likelihood of getting the infection from somebody is high.
He gave a breakdown of the proportion of COVID-19 mortalities by presence or absence of comorbid condition.
About 9% of the people infected develop signs and symptoms. You say they are symptomatic, and up to about 91% have no signs and symptoms at all.
Well, so that's how the picture looks like. And the emphasis was on children, Aisha, because of that 9-year-old who died COVID-19 with no underlying conditions. And so the emphasis on children, and it's refreshing to know that, yes, they don't constitute a larger population of the cases we have so far. But this is the new case count we do have now. That's 6,964 is the new case count, the increase of about 156 new cases. These 156 new cases were actually recorded in just about 5 regions that made up for the total of 156 case increase that we had. Greater Accra region has 4,907 cases as we speak today. The point must be made, though, that the daily infection rate is reducing in the Greater Accra region, according to the Ghana Health Service. Ashanti region 1,066, Western region 334, Central region 319, Eastern region 106, Western North region 62, Volta region also there for 57, the Northern region 36, Soti region 26, and the Upper East region 26 as well, the Upper West region 21, Northeast region 2, Savannah, and Bono region also have a case each. And the Bono region case is what we've been getting details of. The Savannah region was the latest to join. Now we have 14 out of the 16 regions recording the case. And according to the case details of the Savannah region, this is a 31-year-old young man who works in Salaga but spends his weekends in Tamale. And the source of infection, according to the Ghana Health Service, is linked to cases recorded in Tamale because he spends his weekends there. That's the information that we got. The recovered cases now also stands at 2,097, as earlier indicated. But if you look at the severe cases now, we have about 15 severe cases. It makes up for, first of all, the University of Ghana Medical Center has 4 of this. Ghana East has 3, Kolebu 3, Kumasi has 3 severe cases, Ho as well has 1, and the 37 military hospital also has 1 severe case. That makes up for the total of the 15 severe cases that we do have now. That makes up for what the situation is with COVID-19 in this country. But Parliament has denied reports that some MPs and other Parliament staff have contracted COVID-19 after the Speaker ordered for mass testing of members of legislature and other staff last week. There's an easy calm in the legislature over the reports, despite a flat denial by the leadership. Here's a report by Komla Kluche.
What we agreed to do was that anybody who tested positive, information would not be transmitted to all of us. I mean, it's between the person and the people who did the test. Some confidentiality is required in these matters. And we needed to be very circumspect. The reason why we decided to do this. And so, as I sit here with you, perish the thought, if Kate has tested positive, how would he know? If the clerk has, if I have, they wouldn't know. So it's part of the agreement that we all came to. So nobody knows whether anybody has tested positive. We would want to let you know that there's no truth in that. Second, as the Speaker indicated, because we are all here together, we're appealing to all staff in the House, all members of Parliament, and even non-staff, as you are, that everybody must submit himself or herself for your own sake and for the sake of your households, your friends and others that you come into contact with.
Would do that equally. The institution might be notified if there's any kind of support which we give to any person, be it malaria, be it typhoid, be it a cancer, which we give to any other person who is unwell. But as it stands, it's not part of the protocol that results will be given to any particular office in Parliament, and for that matter, that information to be made to a media house.
The hurriedly organized press conference by the majority leader, the director of Public Affairs and the Director of Health Services for Parliament vehemently denied reports that some 2 MPs and 13 parliamentary staff have contracted COVID-19. The insistence is that the results are strictly to be known by individuals who tested for the virus and not to be communicated to Parliament as an institution. They, however, make the case that the test will remain continuous for members of the House and other parliamentary staff, including the press, to continuously test to know their faith with regards to COVID-19. Komla Kluchem, TV3 News, Parliament House, Accra.
Let's still stay, that's Komla there. Let's just stay a bit further on this. Director of Public Affairs in Parliament, Kate Addo, has joined me on the telephone. Madam, thank you for your time. Good evening to you. Now, first of all, let me find out what went into the decision to rather communicate the results of this test to individual MPs and not letting us know whether, for example, 2 or 3 MPs, hopefully not, have COVID-19.
Thank you for having me and good evening. First of all, the confidentiality protocol governing the testing of COVID-19 in the country is that persons who test positive will be communicated to by phone call. We were made to understand that all of us who tested, if you did not receive a phone call, what it meant was that it was negative. But if you received a phone call, then obviously they will tell you if it's positive and what the necessary lines or next line of action should be. Now, the reason for that is that issues of health are personal to the individuals who suffer them or not. And so the first point of reference would be to the person that is suffering a particular illness. And then, if that person chooses to disclose to the institution, then that will be their prerogative. But mind you that the person would have been dealt with by the COVID response team, and they would have taken the matter up. And so the rest of us would not be at risk of contacting the disease.
Great. I asked for clarity because I'm not even talking about the identities of the MPs being made public. But then again, as we all hope that none of you in there test positive for COVID, if it happens to be the case, would it be that we would have some communication from you that, say, 3 persons tested positive, 4 persons, just for public information? Because we don't know if the health personnel, get infected. We're aware of it, but not their identities. Is this something you're going to consider?
Obviously, if you have any information on who the number of people who are infected, it's only fair that we would, give that information out. In any case, if anybody contacts COVID-19, it doesn't mean that they are at fault or they've done something wrong or it's terminal or person should be stigmatized. That's not the case at all.
Right.
The point of the matter is that if somebody has it's important that the rest of us will know so that we can guide and guide ourselves against it. So obviously, if we have information to that effect, it is our duty to make that information public. Great. However, what we don't want to do is that if we do not have any information to that effect, we should not, we seem to be giving that information. That's what this afternoon's press conference was about. About the fact that Parliament was not aware that anybody had been contacted and told that we have the disease. And we recognize that the media may have their own sources and may have got the information from whatever source, but it's definitely not from Parliament. Right. And we wanted to make that known to everybody.
Great. I think that's clear. I want to thank you for your time this evening. Kate Addo is the Director of Public Affairs of Parliament.
This is your Election Command Center, and this evening the Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Voters Register says it will not be part of Wednesday's planned IPAC meeting by the Electoral Commission. The group has also served notice that the March intended compilation by the Electoral Commission will not receive the needed conducive environment for it to take place.
It is disappointing and disheartening to note that that was the first time political parties in the resistance had heard about this blatant attempt at political bigotry by the Electoral Commission to exclude close to about 10 million eligible voters from registering to vote in this year's general elections. The EC has lied and continue to lie. The wishy-washy conduct of the Electoral Commission and the National Identification Authority goes to deepen the widely held suspicion that the actions of the EC may constitute a grand criminal conspiracy between the EC, NIA, and the MPP to rig the mandate of the people by disenfranchising over 10 million eligible voters from the strongholds of opposition political parties. And when we say we'll resist, you want me to tell you the strategies we'll use to resist. They will get to know. On that day when they go there and they realize that the environment is not conducive, they know that the resistance has taken place. We are sure you will resist. You doubt our capacity to resist. If they will not listen to common sense, we will not allow no sense to prevail. Common sense must prevail and not no sense.
And now the Director of Electoral Services, Dr. Srebo Kweku, says the Commission will not allow itself to be swayed by any political party in discharging its mandate. Presenting a political party registration certificate to the leader of the People's Action Party, PAP, in Accra, he urged stakeholders to take advantage of the Commission's planned activities.
Leader Kwesi Busumburu and some members of the People's Action Party, PAP, were at the Electoral Commission's head office Tuesday morning to receive the party's certificate of registration. As part of requirement to become a fully fledged political party, PAP is expected to open and run offices in all 275 constituencies in the country, in addition to a fully functional national and regional offices. Founder of the party, Kwesi Busumburu, a native of Amekom in the Ashanti region, posits improving the country's security and economy would be the prime focus of the People's Action Party. On the compilation of a new voters register, he said the EC must be allowed to execute its mandate.
I totally agree with the EC. EC as a body was mandated to make changes as we go along. So me, personally, I have no issues with the compilation of the new voters registration.
Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Srebo Kweku, said the Commission would not allow itself to be dictated by any political party when executing its mandate.
By the nature of our work, we don't seek favor from you. If you're attacking me, I know it's normal. So as long as we are working, we listen to you, but we don't allow you to dictate to us. You just also protect our mandate so that we don't allow people to push us around. Because if today party A says go here, the next day party B will say go here, then you become like a pendulum. You don't know where you are moving. So the first thing is that what I'm doing, is it supported by the law? Once it's supported by the law and your conscience clears you, you go ahead and you do it.
He also urged political parties to align themselves with activities of the Commission, else they will be left behind.
You have to prepare yourself and wait for us, not the other way around. Because the law says that we should compile voter register. Whether you are there or not, we go. We are going to do election. Parties are supposed to send agents to the polling stations. Whether you are there or not, we go. So you have to make yourself important and prominent and visible so that you can be part of the activities.
The People's Action Party is yet to hold a congress to elect executives of the party and endorse their leader.
This becomes the 25th political party in this country, 25 of them. We'll see what pans out. This is your Election Command Center here on TV3 and our various media platforms as well here on Media General. Now, the landlord who shot his tenant at Ofanko, a suburb here in Accra, has been remanded into police custody by the Abeka District Court. The accused, Victor Stephen Nanakankam, was charged with murder and would also reappear on June 8, 2020.
The incident occurred on Sunday, May 24 at Ofankor Sport M in Accra. The accused, Victor Stephen Nana Kankam, aka Ni Kojo Konim, alias Obo Shredder, reportedly shot and killed an upcoming musician, Spark Benjamin Ochre. The victim, with multiple gunshot wounds, was pronounced dead on arrival at the police hospital. The accused, Victor Stephen Nana Kankam, was later charged with murder. His plea was not taken after the prosecution read the charges to him. The prosecution then pleaded with the court to remand the accused to enable them complete investigations. The presiding magistrate, Adjoa Echama Ofusu, obliged and remanded the accused into police custody to reappear on June 8. Lawyer for the accused was not in court, neither were his family members. Family, friends and sympathizers of the deceased, Spark Benjamin Ochre, were in court calling for justice. Others rained insults on the accused.
You're watching News 360 live here on TV3. We're also live on DSTV channel 279. After the break, Nana Kiame's help Abrampa is on standby with the very latest from the business world. Please stay with us.
A very good evening to you. Thanks for staying with us on News 360. Let's do some business news now. My name is Nana Ekuya Mensah Abrampa. We understand that government has paid the first tranche of COVID-19 electricity reliefs to the respective bodies. I'm talking about the ECG, NEDCO and VRA having been paid in full for April benefits. Following the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the citizenry, the president on April 9, 2020 announced the absorption of the entire electricity bills of consumers who consume up to 50 kilowatts per hour, while residential and commercial consumers were to benefit from a 50% discount of their bills. Well, the 3-month electricity bill relief announced by government will cost the country 1 billion Ghana cedis. Head of Public Affairs at the Energy Ministry, Nana Kofi Opondamwa, joins us on the phone. Now, Nana, good to have you. First of all, I want to find out, talking about the first tranche, how much has been paid to these bodies so far?
Thank you very much. Good evening and good evening to your viewers as well. So, very often, I need to explain that there are 3 major bodies that have been paid by the government. That's ECG, NEDCO, and VRA. These are the distributors. Now, VRA is the distributor because of places like the Akosombo Township, some special low tariff customers that they carry, Valco, which is supplied directly among others. So these are the figures. Government has paid 243 million cedis to the electricity company of Ghana. NEDCO has similarly been paid about 45 million Ghana cedis, and then VRA has also received about 55 million cedis to ensure that the first tranche has been paid. In all, it's around 340-something million Ghana cedis that government has released as payment for COVID-19 electricity reliefs.
What's the total when you add ECG, VRA, and NEDCO together?
I just mentioned that 340 there, but a little bit above it.
Okay. So when are we looking at the next tranche, or if that will be the final tranche? Any timelines for us?
No. So it's a 3-month period, and government is paying on a monthly basis. So what has just been paid is the money that was due for April, the month of April.
Okay.
So as you are aware, the April reliefs kicked in May. And so those reliefs that we are currently enjoying is what government has paid. This is because ideally, normally, your bills are brought to you every month, and you pay those bills. So that is what keeps your system running. Government did not, therefore, want to create, some instabilities by starving the system of cash. So once the president made the announcement, he also ensured that the money was made available so the system can run smoothly. It also goes to stabilize the cash waterfall mechanism that has been instituted as part of the energy sector recovery program, which is to ensure that the energy sector is brought to financial sustainability within 5 years. All of these are very, heavy, very technically driven programs. And if you have a little bit of time, I would very much love to be given the space to explain.
Okay. Now we are grateful for your time. Nana Kofi Opon-Damoah is the head of public affairs at the Energy Ministry, talking about some first tranche payments being made to the involved bodies, ECG, NETCO, as well as the rest. That is the payment for the month of April. We'll see how the rest pans out. But away from that now, the Ghana National Gas Company Limited has refuted claims that the liquefied petroleum gas being produced from its Atuabo gas plant is too high in propane, contaminated and of low quality. Now, this follows a statement by Duncan Amoah, who is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, that the recent products were contaminated and could cause fire.
In an official statement signed by Ernest Owusu-Bempah-Bonsu, head of corporate communications of Ghana Gas Company, he said as a leading producer and marketer of domestic LPG, the company had always ensured that the quality of LPG and the standards for quality determination were in alignment with both local and international standards. He further explained that LPG was a gas mixture mainly made up of propane and butane, adding that the presence of propane in LPG amongst many other constituents contributed to the vapor pressure, density and the calorie. In a reaction to the statement, Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amoah, maintains Atuabo Gas Company should be concerned about producing higher internationally accepted standard LPG and work harder to meet the trust reposed in them in order to justify the monopoly.
Now, Regional CEO for UBA West Africa, Biola Bewa, has re-echoed the need for Africa to move away from foreign donors for development. During the UBA Africa Day 2020 conversations, she noted the continent has the human capital that can be used to turn the other resources around for development.
Group chairman of UBA, Tony Olemelu, set the conversations rolling.
For your intervention of $3 billion to support trade and SME businesses through the African Bank. This happened in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks from approval, processing to disbursement. This is the kind of intervention that small and medium-scale enterprises on our continent need, especially at a time like this. This is about practicality and direct impact.
The Best Banking and Finance Services CEO of the year 2017 at the 8th edition of the Ghana Entrepreneur and Corporate Executive Awards noted not taking risk at all will make life after COVID-19 difficult. Abiola Bewa was of the view there is enough resources for Africa to develop and create wealth for the achievement of the SDGs.
The first one is for us to have strong private sector. The second one is for us to have rapid industrialization. And the third one is for Africa to work on institution and rule of law. The fourth one is for us to develop our human capital. And finally, there was a general consensus that we need to remove the barriers, the national barriers across Africa.
Panelists for the United Bank Africa UBA Africa Day Conversations 2020 spoke on growth, jobs and sustainable development amidst a global pandemic. Chairman of the Board of Directors of the African Export-Import Bank spoke on some economic policies options for government.
Make sure that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement gets implemented without delay. This is the only way we can begin to foster dynamic growth in our continent.
In 2019, UBA Africa Day was on the theme, Africa's History Redefined, Our Past, a Path to the Future.
And finally, talking about give, and it will be given back to you. Former Chief Justice Ofiah Kufu, Chair of the Board of Trustees, says any company that made a donation to the COVID-19 National Trust Fund will enjoy some tax holidays. Well, the tax relief reward by the Ghana Revenue Authority, the GRA, according to the retired judge, will be manifest when the benefactor companies file their tax returns. This decision is subject to fulfilling all requirements that the GRA has set out in its recently published guidelines for the implementation of the tax incentives in support of taxpayers against the pandemic. You can get more of this as well as other business stories on 3news.com. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. We're back with sports. Good evening.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Juliet Bewa. A new board is expected to be named for Kumasi Asante Kotoko this week as the club seeks to chart a new management path. The Dr. Kwame Kyei-led management team will now have to work with a board, something that hasn't been their order in the last few years since he took office. It is expected that the new board will work with the management team towards steering Kotoko onto self-sustainability. When in place, they will help provide the necessary checks and balances while ensuring the club fully adheres to best practices. Still on Kotoko, and the president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Kwabena Yeboah, says the challenges or leadership challenges over the years in Kumasi Asante Kotoko is down to a myriad of issues. Speaking on the matter, he argued that most of the issues the club has faced in recent years, especially with leadership, comes down to accountability and structure.
It's amazing, but that has been one of the biggest problems that has confronted Asante Kotoko. I mean, this leadership issue. It's all about leadership. And part of the reason I personally engineered for Herbert Mensah to take over Kotoko was because I thought they were having serious management problems. Because without sound management, there is no way any team around the world can make inroads. It's not possible. It's absolutely impossible. So management is so key.
While insisting it isn't a peculiar situation, he says a structure that can always stand the test of best practices is the most convenient thing to do.
Kotoko over the years have had their own problems at times with management, but there's a certain irony, it's a paradox if you like. Anytime they've had an executive chairman or a CEO and a board of directors has been imposed on that structure, Kotoko has always had problems. Because all the success stories of Kotoko, for instance, had to do with areas where they had either a CEO who was independent or an executive chairman. So yes, Kotoko has had some brilliant management leaders, as well as, I'm sorry, but some dodgy ones. But in all this, let me say that the issue of accountability has become a big issue because of the structure that we have in the club.
As the new board is to be named, it is the expectation that it will usher in a renewed approach where some of these challenges will be addressed. So that's all for sports here on News 360 with me, Juliet Bewa. Good evening.
Welcome back to News 360. In some more stories this evening, President Akufo-Addo has charged judges to dispense justice in full accord with their conscience and the rule of law. The president was speaking at separate swearing-in ceremonies of two distinguished judges of the Supreme Court, Justices Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu and Emmanuel Yoni Kulendi, at the Jubilee House.
In the name of the Almighty God swear.
Do me the name of the Almighty God swear.
That I will not directly or indirectly.
That I will not directly or indirectly.
Professor Justice Henrietta Mensah Bonsu was the first to be sworn in. The new Supreme Court Justice's career spans a period of 39 years in the world of academia, scholarship, female activism, international relations and public service. President Akufo-Addo charged her to ensure a strict application of the laws of the land.
It is important that you dispense justice in full accord with your conscience and the rule of law. You must ensure the strict application of the laws of the land. In the words of the judicial oath that you have just taken, without fear or favor, affection, or ill will, and therefore without recourse to the political, religious, or ethnic affiliations of any citizen of the land.
The distinguished jurist pledged to serve the cause of the country.
I have today taken on the onerous responsibility of a Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana. As my favorite lines of our national anthem go, quote, "With our gifts of mind and strength of arm, whether night or day, in mist or storm, in every need, whatever the call may be, to serve thee, Ghana, now and evermore." And so I here make the pledge that, as always, I will devote my time and talents to her call and serve her to the best of my ability.
Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu thus becomes the 5th female member of the current Supreme Court. Still, at the Jubilee Hall, the President again swore into office accomplished barrister Emmanuel Yoni Kolendi as a Supreme Court judge. President Akufo-Addo charged him to deliver quality judgments.
It is important for you to bear in mind that the growth of our nation demands that we have a judiciary that commands the respect of the people by the quality of its delivery of justice, as well as by the comportment of its judges. Applications of the laws of the land must occur, in the words of the judicial oath that you have just taken, without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and therefore without recourse to the political, religious, or ethnic affiliations of any citizen of the land.
I wish to assure His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana that by the enabling grace of God, I shall, like Caesar's wife, conduct myself above reproach. In all matters, I shall demonstrate uncompromising fidelity to the Constitution, the law, and the evidence before me.
Entertainment news is up next. My name is Anita Ekuye-Kufuor, and time now for some entertainment news. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has posted a video of Ghana's dancing pallbearers with a jab at his political rival Joe Biden. Donald Trump becomes the first world leader to share such a video to his 29.5 million followers on his Facebook page.
The former Vice President Joe Biden, who is currently seeking to kick Donald Trump out of the White House, granted an interview recently on The Breakfast Club and told the host of the show, Charlamagne tha God, that effectively any black person who was undecided between he and Donald Trump was not black enough. Although Mr. Biden has apologized for his comment, which some say is racist, his main political opponent, Donald Trump, has literally sentenced his campaign to death with this video.
Well, it's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Well,
it's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
I hope this gave you a good laugh, but that's it for entertainment. My name is Anita Ekuye-Kufuor. Have a good evening.
Great evening. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you for staying with us here on News 360. As always, we're indeed grateful. I am Alfred Okansi.
And I am Aisha Yakubu. Good evening.